And I was lucky, and I'm telling you, I'm again so highly motivated to bring mental health back to my community, because if it wasn't for my therapist, I would not be here today. She is 100% the reason why I'm here today. So I started to see a therapist because the therapist before her had no clue how to work with me. And it's not their fault. They just didn't have the tools. You and I both know that. Is why I'm sitting here
Right.
talking to you. We need to give mental health care professionals some tools to understand how to work with us. So that being said, they just kept saying I was a very male identified female, blah, whatever that means. But that's the tools they had. So eventually I found a therapist who was a gay woman, and I sat in her office for a month before I said a thing. I'm sure you've had clients like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they
And
just
one of the biggest problems we have in the mental health is people who go through and they're working in a university to get their doctorate in psychology. They're required to take maybe one or two courses on human sexuality. And I think this is I think this is very upsetting because sexuality plays such an important part in who we are and how we identify and our self-esteem and our self-worth. And so, as you said, when therapists don't have these tools, they don't know what to do when faced with these type of situations.
It's devastating. So I want to talk about that a little bit more as we go through my story, because it's very important, I think, what I will say to you. But that said, so I met Casey Weitzman, her name is, and she is amazing. And I sat 4 weeks there. And so, I'm sorry. Yeah, 4 weeks. And then the last week I was like, I just got to say it, because I didn't want to say it. Every time I said, I feel like a man or a boy, they would shut me down. They would say, you're just a woman, blah, you're masculine, deal with it. And she literally said to me, I know. And yeah, I swear to God, I'm going to cry right now, because those 2 words were the thing that saved my life. And all I ever needed was to hear that. One other person telling me, I know, said to me that I am okay.
And it gave you
And
that
so,
sense of acceptance,
yes.
right?
And no one ever said that to me before. And look, they're literally 25 years into this, and I still cry about it, because I know there's kids out there who need to hear this. And when they don't hear it, they will kill themselves. They will go another route. And this is 25, 30 years ago, my friend. I don't know why kids are still struggling the way I did, because they shouldn't be. And so that said, when she said that to me, we were like, how now? What do we do? Right? Because there was no internet. So we just started to try to figure it out on our own, which was so incredibly difficult. And then we found out that Stanford University was doing some kind of studies or something like that on they call it SRS, sexual reassignment surgery. And I'll never forget, I filled out the whole like 500-page thing, right? And sent it in, and I never heard back from them. And it was so discouraging, and I felt defeated. But Casey was like, no, we're going to figure this out. And eventually I found a book that said transgender resource guide in a bookstore. And I still have it. I'll send you a picture of it. And literally in there were doctors, everybody, but for trans women, not for trans men. So I just flipped it in my brain. Wait a minute, I'm the opposite of this. And it was the last book in the bookshelf. And it was homemade, it was a complete homemade book that some trans woman made for trans women. And I found my first hormone doctor in there. And he basically said to me, I've never done this before. You're basically going to be my guinea pig. He said those words to me.
And where were you living? Were you in LA at the time?
Yeah, I was in LA. And he said to me, Dr. Leave was his name. And